with me is my co-knight, I guess, or co-host, the Black Knight. How you doing?
Hello, hello. I'm well. I'm
Oh,
well.
that's good. All right. So last time we discussed a lot of stuff that I've already kind of forgotten about because I memory hold it. I'm joking. Um, it's just the news articles, the news stuff. Just who really cares? I shouldn't say that, but it registers so little on my day-to-day life, on my radar. I often forget about it within a day or two because it's all just distraction.
Yeah, it's noise. Most of it
Yeah,
it's noise. They just
yeah,
they just want to keep you occupied and steal your focus. And instead of you grinding and creating and charging your spiritual batteries, you're
yeah.
just constantly drained, and
So
that's it.
yeah, and what you just said reminds me of a certain passage in the Bible that I read recently. It was in, I think, Matthew, and what he tells Saint Pierre, when he gets off the boat during the storm, look at me. Like, Jesus pretty much says, keep your gaze on me and only look at me. Keep your focus, otherwise you'll sink. And I'm paraphrasing, but this is what we're supposed to do in life. Stay focused. Like keep ourselves focused on what's important, on the truth, and not waver from that. We're not supposed to, you know what I mean? Like look away, let whatever happens in life, distract us. So um, I really like that story, the walking on water part. I just think it's cool, um, and kind of badass, I will admit. Um, but then again, it is really cool. Um, but this is actually, now that I think about it, one of those stories which I think on in Eastern and Western Europe, this is one of the joys of our religion is that we both have these stories the same. Yeah, we have Slavic folklore or Bulgarian folklore, which is different from, say, French folklore, and these are very different civilizations and histories. But we have this story in common, which you know, I just think it's one of those things which is pretty cool to think about.
Yeah, it's how should I put it? It's the things which it's not not and not just religion, but the things that mm, we
Matter.
have like similarities in spirit,
Mm,
in blood. That's they spill into religion.
mm, yeah. So to talk about the noise of the day, I guess that I've seen online, Martin has announced he's probably not going to be finished uh, Winds of Winter for some reason.
Ah,
For some reason,
is
this
it
is
is it is it fascismus?
no. This time it's just
Last
that.
time, last time it was fascismus.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I know. It's like I can't.
No.
It's like the first time. What was it? It was Donald Trump. Then it was fascism, la fascism, et ensuite, uh, now it's just that it's been too long. It's been 13 years. Like, what can he do? And it's like you can't
Uh,
blame him. He's just like you can't blame me. It's been 13 years, so now it's 13 years that are being blamed. The
uh,
unlucky number. Um, all I can say is, you know, maybe you should have come up with a better excuse. Like, because like at least Donald Trump and fascism, like there's flavor there. There's flavor. Like, uh, like we could at least say like, oh well, he's being creative about his trolling and his excuses. But no, he just outright refuses to be creative about it. And this is the problem with him as a writer. He's not creative. Like, at least put a little, uh, what's the English term? Pizzazz.
Yeah, pizzazz. Yeah, pizzazz.
Yeah, like
Um,
a little spirit into it. But no, it's been 13 years. Yeah, okay, it's been 13 years.
the horror, 13 years. I mean,
Uh,
if I was like trying to go with this kind of an excuse. I mean, it's been 15 years, man. It's been 15 years since I began work on all the world building and the characters and the story arcs and everything. It's been so long. Even though I have all of these drafts and stuff and all of these charts and character sheets and event spreads and everything, I just can't do it, man. I can't. And then I'll just move my
hey, formal Goose
my
Foundation.
my Tushi from one of the chairs that costs probably 6 or 7 thousand to the other chair or the like fauteuil that costs maybe 12,000 or $15,000. I'll just change the furniture.
Yeah. Hey, formal Goose Foundation. Goose is a, well, I guess regular because Dan and I used to stream more often on Twitch, mostly Power Ranger and fantasy stuff. Which,
Ooh.
yeah, maybe we could veer some of. Yeah. You used to watch
Yeah,
it?
we can even talk about what
Go Power Rangers. I love that show. I
I
love.
I can probably talk more about like the first Kamen Rider. Just the same. It's basically the same genre. The
Well, yeah, I still love
costume superheroes, costume hero,
yeah,
mask hero. Um,
fair. I
and yeah, I don't know if have you
no,
ever like written a story in that genre, because
no.
I did.
Well, Dan did, but I just kind of helped a little. It was fan fiction though, and the only superhero thing I like these days is the Power Rangers movie from 1995. Um, I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Hmm.
Oh, I love this movie. I just find it the yes, it's cheesy, but it's just
Yeah,
the
that's
most.
the idea.
Yeah,
That's the entire idea.
but Dan and I are doing this lengthy shot for shot analysis of it, of every scene. We're analyzing every scene on YouTube, and it's just like going into 10-minute discussions of every action the characters make, how they're positioned, how they stand, every
Yeah, the
step.
stances are very very important. That's
Yeah.
one of the charm of this. And when I watched, because like a great fan of Tokusatsu, um, and Kamen Riders, all of the Kamen Riders. He and I had like a lengthy chat, just like you and me are chatting right now. And since he had like he started with my first book, the intro book for the Star Shatter series, and he was like, "Hey, dude, do you have like it's a big universe? Do you have something like Kamen Rider or like the Power Rangers?" And yes. Well, you can say that there are groups who are like the Power Rangers, that are somewhat similar. And then he he told me like super interesting stuff about how they made like the first Kamen Riders, the first series, and that basically it was like super dedication, um, motorcycles, and practical effects. That's
Yeah.
it. And I was really intrigued, and I watched. I found it. I found the first Kamen Rider. I watched it, like the very first Kamen Rider. I watched it, and I was absolutely mesmerized. And this is how I actually was inspired to write the novella, which is now part of my second anthology, which is like a present for anyone who buys the anthology. And it's titled Outlaw Rider. And it's basically Kamen Rider like character, but in the Star Shutter universe. And
Well,
exactly like you mentioned, it's perfectly cheesy. It's exactly the perfect ideal amount of fresh grated cheese. Every single trope that it's there for awesome sake, and it has to be there.
I have
And
to
of course,
confess,
measured.
I
It's
have to confess,
perfectly measured.
I still love just popping that movie on and just watching it. It's one of my greatest joys. Also, because I remember around 95 or 96 watching it with my dad, and I was like five.
Ah, yes, yes.
And my dad was someone who was like, I want my kids to watch Westerns or Zorro or Aban Costello, but I also want them to watch.
Well, Kamen Rider is like Zoro, and Power Rangers are like Zoro.
He also was like, I want them to watch Bourne, Star Wars, everything. But also, because they like Power Rangers, I have to watch Power Rangers. And he even said it. It was good, which for him, it was so mellow and chill that like good means awesome. Um, but yeah, he was the biggest.
Uh,
He was the biggest movie buff I ever met, and even to this day, I think he probably knew more about movies than even everyone I've met on this channel. Almost more than maybe even more than Tom Hyland, which is saying something.
ooh,
My dad was
that,
this mega movie nerd. He wanted to be a writer at one point, then wanted to be a sports writer. Never got around to it because family obligations meant he had to go be a CN train driver engineer. And um, yeah, but he really encouraged the passion for Power Rangers because he saw no harm in it, which is utterly hilarious. Um, he was French in his temperament and tastes, but he was ultimately like, "Oh, that English show, let me watch it." Oh, there's no harm in it. It's English, but he even said it's an Anglo-Saxon thing, but it's a funny Anglo-Saxon thing. Okay, sure. Like he's like, "Ugh, okay, but he wasn't disgusted. He was just like, well, at least it's teaching them good values. Like, and well, I think he also ended up commenting at one point Kimberly was hot, so he was like, okay, just for that I'll watch. So he had the view. You know, he was a pretty regular guy, but there's a movie I'll probably pop on and before New Year's and after Christmas. All right, Martin. Yeah, so it's 13 years, so it's been too long. He doesn't remember, and this is confirming a bit of a
his
theory I have.
fingers forgot the movements that he has to make to touch the specific like parts of the keyboard that are needed to initiate uh, writing. That's the excuse.
I think though writing, okay, when you study languages, it's like working out your brain. When reading, you need to get into the practice of reading. Writing's the same way. It's like working out. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yep.
think he's out of shape. I don't know if he. I don't think he can do it at all. He can't. He's completely out of shape, and I don't think he's ever going to write again. And like working on a TV show project is different. And
Yeah, yeah. It's
there you could just consult, and other people
like
will move down.
I love saying is that story showing is different from story writing.
Hmm.
That's
Like
that's
I'll be,
you.
yeah. Well, and apparently, uh, Rowling is once again. Well, what was it? She's baiting the left, and I've got a theory with her. You remember, like in 2008, she suddenly said that the headmaster guy was homosexual. Um,
Oh yes, yes.
well, I think she was baiting conservatives. Like, I don't think she really cared. That was just to get sales and get her name back out there because, let's be honest, her series ended. There was nothing left to talk about for 2 years. About it. It was fading from the public consciousness.
By the
If
way,
I,
did she ever write anything else?
I, I don't
I
remember.
think no. I don't know. No, I don't think so. No, she doesn't have any other projects than.
And she did plagiarize her story from Worst Witch. So technically, it's not even her plot and her characters and her story. Although I'd argue Mildred, because I've seen a bit of Worst Witch. Mildred is really, really adorable. She's a really cool character. Mildred is more like, okay, this might seem random. You ever seen the movie Prancer from 1987 about a little
Uh,
girl who finds the reindeer Prancer after it falls from Santa's sleigh?
I
The
don't
worst.
remember.
Okay, Lucy
Yeah,
Pevenson.
you have to like. I'm sorry, you have to excuse me, but you gotta remember that we
Oh, yeah.
barely had any like even after the 2000 like the late 90s when we
Yeah.
had access to cable TV. The cable TV
Okay.
was crap. Like
I
uh
just asked because you
yeah,
know a lot of movies I've never even heard of.
yeah, that's
You're you're more
but
versed in
those
movies.
are movies from the other side of the stuff, you know.
You even no, I was going to say like you're more versed in a lot of movies from America that I've never even heard of. So that's why I felt I had to ask. Um, so okay, how about Narnia's Lucy Pevensie? You know her?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Mildred is like her, except in a boarding school for witches. But Mildred is clumsy, plucky, and utterly freaking heartwarming and cute, and runs around causing problems even as she tries to solve it, and just saying "oops" all the time after she causes a mess. And the potion master starts off hating her because, not because of some, well, my girlfriend got dumped me for some other guy, but because she just gets exasperated with all the messes and mistakes Mildred makes, and the fact that Mildred's mother keeps filing complaints about the potion master picking on her daughter. But in time, the potion master softens and warms up to Mildred, and Mildred just goes on to become everybody's favorite because she's just the cutest girl, the most plucky, the most resourceful in the school. She's not the best witch, she's not the most powerful, but um, she's
She's
well,
adorable,
yeah, yeah. Like when I watched,
endearing.
yeah, even the Netflix one, which had a few characters blackwashed, she was still freaking endearing. Like they blackwashed I think some of the side characters,
Mm.
but they kept they kept the main character Anglo-Saxon, and that's where all right, I'm just looking up one of the Kamen Rider stuff. Um, but yeah, so but Harry, because he's male, like not to talk smack about little boys, but there's not that same. They're endearing in different ways, and the thing is, um, this. Uh, shoot, I can't find the image where I saved it. There it is. But the problem is Harry didn't have the same personality. Like he does. The intention is that he has the same personality, but he doesn't. It just doesn't communicate. And ooh, whoops, let me just zoom in there. But Potter just I find is
Yeah.
just boring. And yeah, but um, I've had some people complain, how dare I talk smack about Rowling recently because she's defending women. Isn't that like shouldn't
No,
no
no. She's just like
baiting?
yeah. That's the most logical uh, assumption
She baits
which
to that.
make.
Yeah, because I don't think Rowling can write anymore either. She baits. She baited the right, but the right wing has lost all power, arguably, like all cultural values. What I mean is, like, how do I put it? Um, the old right that she was baiting were the old Christian right with her homosexual claim, and then but then everybody just shrugged and got on with their lives, and after like a year or two of sales, the right just well, not that it had any fangs, but it just forgot about it. And then I think the thing is she's now baiting the left because they're the ones with more cultural bite, and baiting them gets, like, it used to be that the right would get angrier than the left. This was in the 90s and the 2000s, in my opinion. And for the most part, this is not the case. The left gets angrier now, so she baits them to get sales. It's about sales. She's a capitalist. So, like, she's like, I'm not saying this to be controversial, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not very, it's not a complicated motive. It's not because she actually has anything. Like, we got to bear in mind, she's a social, well, she's a feminist who approves of all the messaging from and coding from feminism. She does try to protect women to an extent, but so long as it's women who toe the line to her feminism, like, it's basically her religion. She protects her religious sisters, but no one else. And but she baits everyone because she needs to sell Harry Potter, especially with Harry Potter now having a new relaunched series where somebody's going to be blackwashed. But here's the thing: the one with the absolute control over adaptations and whatnot is her. So she
Yeah,
agreed.
she owns all the intellectual property.
Yeah. So Hogwarts Legacy having uh, the gilded people in there, the eunuchs and whatnot, she has to have approved that decision. She approved it. And I know that for a fact because I've talked to people in the industry and they said, yeah, she approved. So they had to run these decisions past her. She approved of that. She approved of the trans message being put in Harry Potter. She approved of the blackwashing. So she's not even really a defender. She's just baiting because, money. But she's already a billionaire. Like, if she wanted to, she could go across the street and just take the position of Prime Minister of Britain. Hell, she could probably even take the crown. Like, the thing is, she's she's bloody rich, probably richer than the royal family. and she's plenty liberal, but for some reason, women love her. I'm not entirely sure why, but
I'm not entirely sure that most women love her.
okay. Within the English,
Some, yeah, some, but when she switched to like the bait,
oh right, yeah,
you
fair.
remember how many like they even had like tattoos of her, and like Harry Potter stuff, and they used laser depilation to remove the tattoos, and they were
Yeah,
burning their Harry Potter book and the merch and stuff, and they were like,
yeah,
yes,
that was awesome and
yes,
fun.
and that like, uh, I don't know.
They still had to buy a copy to burn it, so she got her money. Yeah,
I don't know. It's like, uh, and I love that you put this like this image, um, because when we talk about baiting stuff, like when you go to the Power Rangers and the Kamen Riders, all of them, you realize that it's just fun. It's just classic. I mean, yes, it's cheesy. Yes, there are some goofy things, but they're there for a reason. That's by design, and it's fun. I mean, of course, no, like some people will not like it, but I know plenty who do, and their number is growing in later years, and especially with um, they're starting from the early stuff, like the first series, the older ones from the 70s.
cool.
Yeah, that's I mean, and you have, I mean, you have like messaging, uh, but it's heroic messaging. It's
That's
good versus evil messaging, and it's showing you through this quite fancy costumed uh, teams of heroes and villains. They show the, especially the young people, they show them, they tell them a story which is like, uh, this is a variant of this will happen in the real world. Yes, they will not wear colorful costumes, they will probably look ordinary, but they will do similar shit. So beware.
yeah,
That's
and
what that's of course we talked about fairy tales, and that's the purpose of the old school fairy tales. Well,
yeah,
when you tell them to little kids, that's the idea.
and I'll freely admit that I went easy on the rolling in my article, but now I've had time to think and go, I went too easy. No, she's not sincere.
uh,
But what's more is, um, but I don't care to change the essay because eh, I'll have time to. The next time she baits, I could condemn her then.
yeah.
Um, good for her new article. Um, it's good for views. It's good for now apparently whenever I make Martin and rolling bashing stuff, people are now signing up as paid subs. So it's good for money, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, when it comes to the fairy tale thing, what I ended up suggesting was uh, that Harry Potter is not one of those good fairy tales because it's full of liberalist nonsense. It's um, it's not full of love, truth, and whatnot. Thoughts?
Hmm. Well, it has like a surface, um, which would like if you just look at the surface, you would assume that it's benign. It's just a tale, um, normal fairy tale. But if you think deeper, if you analyze it more, you will see that the messaging is different. It's especially when you start from the very very beginning. It's like how you have this child which is pretty much uh, abandoned to live with relatives, and it's I know this is like the Cinderella trope,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is not bad. It's fine, but uh, how should I put it? I'm, I'm guessing it's too much. It's the levels are cranked over what is like supposed to be balanced, and it like to an extent it works, but then you have this in the next movie, and then again and again and again, which kind of, and then you have the college, like the witches college itself, and these parts of the world building which um, consider the normal humans as like subhuman, almost like trash compared to the witches, wizards, which is
And yeah, but the the thing is, they're they're well, like I always say, the trouble with the those big names like Martin and Rowling is they were already connected and they wrote what like their work. If the media were to push forward any other, even the worst writer, let's say they pushed forward, I don't know, some 6-year-old's um, you know first short story or first attempt at a book, that would sell as much as Harry Potter or Game of Thrones. The reason, it's the media
uh,
attention,
yeah, it's
marketing.
it's astroturfing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's these things were astroturfed, and I just know there's going to be, when I post this on Substack, there's going to be the, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're this. No, I'm just saying spoilers. That's what the new term is for anyone who says conspiracy theories. It's, I'm giving you spoilers.
Mm.
Um,
Yep, yep. Spoilers. Uh,
but spoiler warning.
we are, or you could also say that we are noticing enjoyers.
Mm, yep, we're real world lore fans,
Mm,
lore nerds.
yep, yep.
But all right, now that we've cleared the noise part, because that's just there for the title and attracting people, because you know algorithms, they're a pain in the. Anyways, um, now we get to the real discussion. So, um, I'm gonna just quickly ask any new projects lately in either Star Shatter or the Lord of Bones universe.
Ah, well, I'll start with the Lord of Bones universe,
Yay!
which after I finished the first one, I pre-drafted parts of the second one and a few small bits from the third one. Um, and recently, last week actually, I did some more and quite extensive draft noting for the second one, which will be Queen of Mirrors.
Queen of
And
Mirrors.
if and since you've read it, you probably suspect why
Yep.
Queen of Mirrors, and it's our beloved, our great leader, the Queen of Telvonia, um, Vampiri, and I'm not going to spoil anymore. But um, after reading the ending, it's just it's I kind of like I had it in my I've had this in my head. It was growing, sprouting, like growing roots, and last week I just couldn't. It sprouted, and I had to like pour some water on it so it could grow. So in my case, that's the the drafting the scenes, writing some basic dialogue, and planning the scenes from different chapters and such. And so that's what I did last week. Um, I have the bones of, I think, 4 chapters already for the second book. And the third book is just a rough plan, um, because it did not have this like extensive period of so many years like the Star Shattered universe. So it will require more time, and we'll see. And I also um, revisited some of the draft notes and plans for the third book for Velin, which is should be titled Velin Death Slayer, which is the is it's not going to be set on Averna. It's not going to be set on Lotoria. I'm saying this because there will be some of my readers who um, would like to know very much,
Mhm.
um, and it will actually be set on Sirius Prime, which is the greatest colony of humankind, of
Mm.
mankind, and that's one of the probably places that suffered quite a lot. But yeah, I had to go back because I remembered something very important, quite important, and I went and wrote things, um, wrote things specifically about the architecture and the beauty and the symmetry and the design of this It's almost like the old classic architecture, but of course it's built to withstand the rigors of space age technology and then also combat. And I wrote an extensive scene which described and tracked the progress of a number of characters throughout this huge hospital, which looks now it looks marvelous. Absolutely looks marvelous, and on the inside, like the waiting rooms and most of the like uh, corridors and the rooms of the patients. They have art, they have paintings, they have statues, they have, and it's of course it's not modern quote unquote art because it doesn't exist. It's proper stuff. And of course you have like children's paintings and such, which is wholesome in its own way. So that's for that's about the new projects. And of course I was working, as you know, on the province of Terrance Vote Your Own Adventure, which I post it every Friday for Sci Friday.
Yeah, because
Which,
you're one of the most prolific authors for that.
yeah, and it's about to end. This is like
All good
the
things
next,
eventually end.
yeah, but the next one will start after that. Then
And all
that's
good
what
things
the
are eternal.
yup, yup, yeah, and that's what the people voted for. Actually, the first
Yay!
one, the first one was about Vincent, the moral officer. The second one was about the spacer. He was like a really good pistolero, gunslinger, like most spacers, and also explorer of deep space. Nordstone Farhand. And the second one will have a different style, storytelling style, because it's part of the lore of the spacers that when they complete an adventure and they come back, they would go to these special taverns. It's their bardic aspect, the bardic aspect of the spacers. And while they are painting one of their new murals on their spacesuits, because this is like their spacesuit is like it's covered in murals of their like best deeds, their greatest deeds. And while they are painting the mural, they would tell the tale to young spacers and friends and other people who are visiting, and they will make sure that they are not exaggerating. They will always tell it as it is, even if it's a little bit boring.
Okay. Um, on my end, I'm considering working on, well, doing writing streams. I tried doing that at one point and dropped out of it, but I'm considering starting it back up. And also doing looking at what you've been doing with the, you decide the next thing that happens. I'm thinking of trying to do that with maybe a cozy fantasy story.
Ooh,
Uh, where you decide where it'd be with, because I proposed this to Kim Carroll, with the plot being a cobalt colony, um, and from D&D, except in my world. But they live in a cavern, and they're trying to build a cathedral, and where with like within the mountain, not outside, but within, and where near the end there'd be an attack by um, a local robber baron who gets annoyed at and jealous of their riches and goes to try to attack. And I'm considering kind of doing the vote the next chapter or next, what the characters do next in response to something. Like with
Yeah,
just because I think it might be fun.
yeah, it's lots of fun. I picked like the three option vote because it's uh, that's part of my writing schedule. I can't. Some people in the past did like five options, six options, and I just
Whoa.
no, I can't. I can't.
I
And
can.
some it's like I don't know how you plan to do it. Like some people do include like an elaborate character uh, voting chapters in the beginning with a whole lot of different options, but I don't think that's
I don't know if I could do that. I might just
yeah,
stick.
no, that would be no.
This would be modeled like after Winnie the Pooh and Wind of the Willows. So I'd be like for kids and just more like a uh, imitation of sorts to an extent of regular life in a mythic world, and also one that's maybe the kobolds are basically supposed to be French kobolds. So they just like to go home, eat a lot of food, uh,
Drink something,
yeah,
bake cookies.
yeah, and spoil their dogs, and just generally make baguette. And like, I love baguette.
Sandwich? Do they make sandwiches? because
Absolutely.
I because they bugged me and I included sandwiches and these are by the way brand new. One of the authors who reads the story
Uh-huh.
um, wants the recipe and I have to include it. I have to include the recipe and I do have the recipe. I do not write any food in any of my books without first having the recipe, guys and gals.
I got to get around to that. I
That's probably one of the wholesomest things.
I love. Well, I've got
You
my
hey, you
great.
can do that. You can do that. You can let's say
Yeah,
you
because
have
I've
like
got my
a
great grand.
cobalt stew, or like I don't know.
I was going to include cream potato stew, but
Ha! Do you want my recipe?
yes. But
My recipe.
I was going to mostly use my great granny's cookbook. Open it up
Mm, mm.
because she was around during. I think she was. Um, I think it's my Irish great granny, but she was from Ireland and she became French. So she
Yeah.
learned the French language, and she compiled and passed down to my grandmother uh, basically all the family recipes, and my grandmother added to it all these
Yeah.
French recipes. So we've got Irish recipes and mixed with some French stuff, and they're very similar, Irish and
That's the
French
good
stuff.
stuff.
And I believe I've got a copy uh, somewhere in storage, but it's only in a box because I for moving purposes, but because I plan to bring it with me because you know these are great
That's
grannies.
treasure. That's
Yes.
yep. That's a proper treasure.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe, but the thing is, my mother made a copy for Daniel and I a while back because she saw it as these are the family recipes, and since I have three kids, well, four technically, she's it's just I well, I forgot to count my adoptive sister there. So four of us have these recipes. Um, so yeah, um, and of course, our oldest brother and I, we constantly experiment with some of the recipes because why not? Let's have fun.
Yep.
Um, but I'm considering doing this cozy little 200 pager that way, but also considering at the same time doing a. I'm considering starting on that soon, but balancing it out with a much starker, much darker, epic story set in well, a mythic version of the Holy Roman Empire or Germany, I should say, and it would basically follow a character called Wotan Wolf, or Wotan of the Wolf tribe, because why not name him after Odin? And basically, um, inspired by a series of German figures like Aton Le Premier, uh, Frederick Barbarossa, as well as Frederick the Great. From well, I think great. I mean Supermundi, Frederick II, Hohenstaufen, and also setting it in. It'll probably be the furthest point forward in my timeline because it'll be set in a conflict I didn't plan to touch on quite yet, but this could be good to touch on. And it's basically set during the Hundred Years' War period, which what people forget is that Germany was also having some struggles around that time because it's usually either people are focusing on either the Mongol invasions of the world, Japan's uh, collapsing situation, or France just being utterly butchered by England. Um, but this would be me focusing on Germany because why not? Dan
Yeah.
already named the empire. I proposed. Well, I had been using one name. He wanted a rename for a German term for the people because it was originally Valholland. Dan suggested changing it to Volk Holland.
Hmm.
Makes more sense.
Yeah.
Which one do
Yeah.
you prefer?
I prefer the second one.
That's what he's. Yeah. Okay. So
It's just like
more
when
German.
I and two German readers of mine when they were poking me about like poking my brain about stuff like German stuff in the Star Shattered alternate history, and when I told them different stuff, and they were like, but how is this like this specific term pronounced in German? I'm like, okay, I have to think. Yeah.
I see. This is one reason why I really want to take. Uh, well, when it comes time to redo my, well, to get a French BA, I want to take some German online class. Well, because the university offers, I think, some German classes online for a German certificate, which would be 12 credits. Like I think four courses in Deutsch, grammar, and whatnot. I'm really, really curious how they pronounce things. It sounds a lot more guttural than French and Gaelic, which are very lilting Celtic languages. I don't know if it seems that way.
I think you'll like it. I think you'll
Yeah.
like it because I worked with these two um, back in the day, and some of the words that they told me, and they told me how they would be pronounced. They sounded much better than what I originally assumed. That was nice, um, and
Well,
especially
it's just
when
to my French ears, German sounds very rough and similar to Bulgarian and English, I guess. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like some of the sounds are
But
pronounced in specific ways.
I do have a fondness these days for, well, I've always had a fondness for German medieval history because it's really interesting. But looking into more and more German lit and books and whatnot, it's I have to say I have to admit I'm getting to be more and more of a Germanophile. The Germans are a lovable bunch. Um,
uh, yeah, I have to mention that one of my latest stories that I include in the second anthology has
mhm.
a German character, female pilot, and she's modeled on some quite skilled pilots, real pilots,
Mhm.
and let's see. So her like the main they're basically there are two main characters. She's the one of them, and the other one is French, and they have this um, wholesome sparks flying. It's not like a heavy love story that they have, but it's the beginning of it. It's like the first steps of it because I plan to have them in another story, the continuation of this one, and I'll tell you. Just give me a second. It's titled "The Flying Wolves," and it takes place during their like the Star Shattered universe's Second World War. And the French, he's also a pilot, but he's a pilot of big planes, big airplanes, like the cargo planes.
Yep.
And it was
He's
quite
badass.
un one of the readers who better read it, he said like this is a somewhat an unorthodox flying ace because he's actually an ace pilot. He is an ace pilot, but he flies cargo planes. And it's like I had you probably will be the third Frenchman who would read it, and so far like a couple of Poles read it, three Germans, and like all of them loved it. Pretty much every German who reads about like I'm not talking about some, you know, I'm talking about normal people who reads about this universe. They love it. They love it. And when they say free Germany in German, it's it sounds awesome.
Well, I have to admit, you have a lot of phrases that do sound fairly awesome in German. Um, well, I was introduced a while back, as you know, to Auslandhaus. I don't know how if I got that right, but I love that phrase now. Although I imagine YouTube's going to strike for that one because um, it's a strong sentiment of German sentimentality. I'll just word it
Mm, yeah.
or Germania. So yeah, actually, I'll say this: the Germans are remarkable musicians and rock singers. Like you want a rock song made, just make it in German. Don't bother making it in English or anything. Just make it in German. It'll just sound better. Um,
Hmm.
but just as if you want decent poetry, um, Gaelic or French or Japanese. Um, but if you want like I don't know, every nation has their own specialty when it comes to literature and art. Um, I was recently looking at some art in some videos for uh, the 1920s through to the 40s, and there was remarkable art shown. Remarkable period of artist, like in sculpting and art,
Oh yes.
in paintings. There was a remarkable, like not all of it was that joke. Picasso. Oh my gosh, that guy
Hmm.
sucked. Like he basically vomited on the canvas and just said, "Yeah, there, there's my work." Like, you can't even make heads or tails. It's just a splash of colors. But such is post.
You don't have the artistic eye. No. You can't see the greatness.
That's the thing. Globalists have never understood art. They don't understand beauty because beauty comes from, well, we'll call it the spirit of truth or
Yep.
truth himself, because beauty has to come from the divine. It's the divine spark being set aflame, and they don't get it. Picasso is just, my gosh, he was no Franz von Struck, I think it is, brilliant and mesmerizing painter. Or Ludwig van Beethoven, that guy could do music. Such beauty. Excuse me.
Yeah, bless you.
I'll see. Um, but yeah, uh, the Germans are definitely like. But I'm thinking of writing. I'm writing this story right now in French, alongside my Cat Paladin, Four Paladins,
Oh
because
yes.
which is a more. I don't know if you've seen my posts about that over on Substack, but it's basically me writing Three Musketeers, except with uh, Richelieu as a hero, and I'm using more Saint Louis than Louis XIII, and I've got let's see how well you know your mythic genre writers. I've got for the leads Jean or John, Babel, Robert, and Plukenet or uh, Dunsany.
Hmm.
Recognize the names?
I am not sure.
John was Tolkien's given name. Babel, Robert E. Howard. There's also Dog.
Ah.
See it.
Yeah, it's I've just experienced a similar moment as some of my like friends and readers who I would ask them something about the names of certain characters in my books, and they were like, "We're not quite sure." Like, and then they get it, and they're like, "Ah." I just had the exact same moment. Experienced
uh,
it.
this, this was something I did as a joke. Why not have the four musketeers in this story be, these four major popular writers? Although I have to admit, Pucanet is from uh, one of Lord Dunsany's castles, and because it's in his name, because he's got this long, really long name, and I used, but one of his names of sorts comes from the French Pucanet. So I just simply gave him the French name, but in the actual book, he's got both an Irish name and a French name because he's supposed to be Franco-Irish, which Lord Dunsany he was of Franco-Irish descent. So I didn't really change much there, except the four heroes set out to investigate a series of murders and the disappearance of an army. So they set out and they're basically trying to overthrow an evil regent from overthrowing the crown. But I'm writing that as one of my main French projects, and now Voten Wolf. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
This will be this will be quite good.
What
What you just mentioned.
about
Uh,
the four paladins?
yeah.
Okay, the Voten Wolf thing will be about a peasant man seeing Valkaland fall apart, the nation destroyed and dissolved, and then him rallying together over the course of several of about 10, 15 years, Valkaland back into an empire and kind of fighting for the survival of his people and basically rising from peasant, nobody, basically from a stone mason almost, like from a master builder of sorts, to, and so basically an architect, to emperor. I guess the term would probably be Kaiser, or
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
having to rally his people against a snake man, uh, a snake man army. So the snake men are from, well, I've been using them because they're a good evil race, them and dark elves. So just use them, and this guy's basically having to rally them. I don't have all of the plot.
Do the snake men perhaps probably worship a pep? Maybe.
Yeah, I have them worshiping Apophis or Apep,
Yeah.
or and also Loki.
Yeah.
Um, Basically, these satanic deities. So they worship them. They're tricksters, and they love to take the shape of mortal men after they kill them. But they also have at their disposal a large
Yes.
gnollish, an army of gnolls, and which are semi, well, which are inspired by the Mongol hordes. So, but I'm mixing some other stuff in there. So they're taking
This
over the
this,
empire and
this
destroying.
sounds awesome.
And the people have lost hope, and um, the nobility are each one basically just saying, "Well, I'm going to try to carve off a little territory, or I'm going to try to make a deal. Maybe I can reason with these barbaric hordes." And even as this is going on, one or two try to call out to Gallia and say, well, basically to the French kingdom, help us out. But Gallia's in the midst of a civil, basically the Hundred Years' War. It's basically in the midst of tearing itself apart due to a civil war, due to an evil duke, and who's also trying to grab lands in Valkalant. And this evil duke is coordinating with the king of Britia, and basically,
Basically, it's chaos on steroids.
yeah. And you have you don't have a nation anymore, so you don't have an empire anymore. But I just want to try using the idea that the empire and even the clergy or the church were a force of good. So like this holy Valkylant empire is fallen. Votan has to call up, well, basically try to embody the spirit of Odin, even as he's afraid and he's unsure of himself, and you know, and basically embody the kind of John Carter, uh, uh, Conan kind of courage and chivalry, and in a world full of betrayal and wickedness, he has to embody good and truth. So a kind of aspirational hero with some doubts, and I figured that would be interesting if it's set in a more German setting because I don't know. I've not been able to find too much German fantasy mythic fiction, and I've not been able to find much.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I have to ask some of my the friends and readers, but you may be right,
Okay.
and
Well,
I'm sure that many of them will love this. They will
because
basically devour it.
I'm writing in French because I can't write it in German. I have no idea how I'd be able. Like I'd have to start learning the language. But what I'd want is
You'll basically, if you want to do it, you'll have to do what I did back in the day when I started learning to write in English.
yeah, and that would be fun. But I'd also want an actual German to sit beside me and kind of guide me through, or do the process themselves. Because there's a lot of Deutsch people who, whereas I don't. There's a lot of Deutsch people who actually know French, and like they're incredibly intelligent. They know French, they know English, they know Deutsch, and some of them then know another like a Slavic language from the east of Europe, and it's like I've met one German lady when I was in Japan who knew French, English, German, and Japanese. On top of, I think it was Romanian or something, and it was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
either Romanian or Serbian, uh,
yeah.
yeah, or something like that. That
And
yeah.
the worst part was I totally had a shot, and I didn't ask her out. Um, Blonde hair, blue eyed, very timid, but very, very kind. And oh, frick. I really should have just gotten the balls together and just asked her out. But it's just I was in a rush that day because I had a train to catch, and you know,
Trains
it,
ruining our chances since like forever.
yeah, ruining our chances with beautiful, beautiful Deutsch ladies. But oh, and I will ask, um, are the Germans usually fairly shy people? Because most of those I've met are very, very shy, very brilliant people,
Mm,
but they seem a little timid.
yeah, I mean, I like the guys
Hmm.
I
Your
had in my university. They A couple of them were like that, but like the other
no,
half, they were very like
outgoing.
yeah, outgoing, and um,
Okay, but
we constantly joked around, and
oh,
they
because
they even learned when they learned
with
a
me they
better
were.
language, like a better Bulgarian, they started like joking, like even constructing jokes. And you know that a
Well,
person, when they learn a new language, and when they first the very first thing they do is start like making trying to make jokes in
yeah,
another language, is that's one of the telltale signs.
yeah, I've noticed that. Well, it's just when I was in Japan, I know I met a few Germans, and they were very friendly. They were just timid at first, and then when I told them I'm French Canadian, like they just said, "Oh, you're French," and they immediately relaxed. They didn't care about the Canadian part; they cared about the French part. They just immediately relaxed, started joking and being friendly, um, and well, in one lady's part, touching my sleeve and uh, just moving out my jacket on my shoulder, and just being very, very, very friendly. As for one German man I've met, shy at first, then just joking all the time and laughing and being friendly and constantly sending me his because he's a professor, so he writes these papers all the time, and he constantly sends them to me when he translates them. The fascinating research into sociological history and mythology and whatnot, or at least the belief of folklore, what it does to people as a sociological, cultural phenomenon across the Middle Ages and the modern age. Brilliant professor. He's also an expert in linguistics. So, oh my gosh, sorry,
Uh,
I'm learning to really appreciate German uh, intellect, and um,
But you're supposed to hate each other. Why are you hating? Yeah.
But what's funny is that every German I keep meeting is like, "Oh, you're French. Okay, we could be friends with you." It's just we were nervous because your English sounds kind of American or something. They're like, "We're a little nervous." Now, apparently, they say, "Well, we've met some great Americans. It's just we're a little nervous. We don't know whether they'll like us or not." And not to speak ill of Americans, it's just you know what I mean. Some of them go, "We're a little nervous," and
Yeah, yeah, I got it.
but then there's French people I've met who are like I asked them about Germans, and they get excited and they say, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you seen?" They then ask me about this German band or that German TV show, and I've never even heard of them. And then my French friends just get disappointed and just say, "What? How can you? Comment est-ce que tu ne peux pas le savoir? How can you not know? This is the height of European culture. Are you even European?" And they tend to do that. Yeah, we're supposed to hate each other, but it seems like for the past, like
It's all bullshit.
yeah, like
It's engineered. It's engineered. You
yeah,
know. Yeah,
and
we talked about it.
yeah, and but man, I'm gonna have to work on learning some German just for this Voten book, but I'll have to come up with a title for it as well.
Hmm. I had a really hard time um, coming with titles
Hmm.
back when I first started like seriously working writing,
Hmm.
and I for a time I trained it. I trained this little gray cell, which is apparently um, its its job is to do this, and I think that if you look at if you look at the titles of the short stories of the chapters, I'm probably uh, how should I put it? I'm okay. I'm okay with the titles. So I may be able to like maybe propose a few titles which you can um,
Sure.
use. Yeah, that's
More well, the more we're thinking of well, I want to write it like as a lengthy story, but I'm thinking I'm probably going to divide it into because of the length and because of the style of story, it's going to be akin to Lord of the Rings or something like that. I'd rather not because Brotherhood of the Gemstones about the first book is about 1,000 pages long, but each it's like the first 200 pages is part one. I'd rather just publish part one as a book, then part two as a book, then part three as a book, and that and then work because Brother of the Gemstone is like that's one book, that's book one, that's part one of a trilogy. But I'd rather not like if I'm going to be writing a German trilogy, I'd rather just publish each part as a not as a smaller book,
yeah.
just
Yeah.
just because I could come out with it once a year, and it's out there. I don't have to worry, and um, and I just figure yeah, I will probably need help for the first book, which will um, basically be the character's origin and him going to work for a local king and just starting on his journey towards knighthood. So and heroism. So, but um, but that said, I have to admit that, like I said, I'm gonna have to crack open a lot of German history books, mostly for things like the Teutonic Knights and whatnot, because the Teutonic Knights are pretty cool, and uh, other ideals like that, orders like that in Germany, because there were a lot of knights in Germany, like in
Oh
fact,
yeah. Yeah.
and um,
One of the reasons that I have this the Star Knight Order which is purposely cheesily named Star Night Order because yes, is that there were even more um, knightly orders in free Germany and in France um, during the Middle Ages, medieval times, um, and they never dissolved. They are still here. That's at least in the Star Shattered alternate universe. So
Well, technically, in the 1930s, the uh, the Germans refounded some of those knightly orders that were part of the Holy Roman Empire, didn't they? Like, because well, I did a bit of research and they refounded them, so that
hmm.
we technically did have some modern knightly oaths being sworn. Um, so technically, that's not too far off from the reality. Although I would argue us French had knights first because Charlemagne, and in the 10th century and the 11th century. So we had them first. That's the only part of the French German rivalry. There's only little details like that that I'll still, well, you know, how do I put it? Us French have our egos. We it's so funny because I've seen people just say uh, Germans and French squabble over nothing, and it's like, well, not exactly. To us, it's I'm better. No, I am. But it's more a friendly rivalry at this point, and we're fond of each other. I think because we like arguably the past, like, well, there's a reason the two countries work coordinate with each other so well today, and have for quite some time. So yeah, but I just opened up uh, the Teutonic Knights thing, and um, I'm just finding out. Looks like yeah, okay. So I figured they were probably 14th century, but they seem to have been 13th century more. Um, they were apparently far more loyal and true to their oaths and whatnot than the Templar Knights ever were. Gosh, the Templar were a disaster. Um, I am not very fond of the Templar Knights. Um, I don't know how you feel about them.
Yeah, yeah, they could have.
I,
They, but
I'm controversial because a lot of French people I've met agree with me, and not all, but some. Us French tend to say Philippe le Bel did nothing wrong. You know, when he overthrew the Templars and dissolved the order and said, enough of this. Because, well, the Templar were worshiping Baphomet and were worshiping demons. They had, you know, like, and they were spitting on the cross. So they were, in effect, traitors and heretics. So, you know, this is a fifth column. This is a banking organization. So they're doing usury, and they're worshiping someone else other than Christ. So what Philippe did when he dissolved the order was effectively a defensive action in defense of his kingdom. That's how I like. That's how a lot of us French tend to regard it. Where, but it's so odd to me how in the English-speaking world the Templar are portrayed as heroes and martyrs when they were, well, you know, like, it's complicated, like everything in history. But yeah, like the spitting on the cross thing, which was admitted by the Templars, and there's people today who try to say yes, but it's okay when they were doing it. It doesn't mean they were heretics. Yeah, it does. I don't know what your opinion is on this one.
Mm,
Like, but
uh,
even the Baphomet thing, it's like, yeah, but like what I tend to do with people who say, yeah, well, the Baphomet thing is complicated. You can't just use that as a, as condemnation. There must have been a reason why maybe they were revering it but not worshiping it. And I tend to say, well, there's no difference here, and you shouldn't even be revering it. But here, let me show you an image of it, and tell me that that isn't terrifying and isn't evil. Most of them tend to go, oh my gosh, like, yeah, what the hell do you think they were doing? Like,
yeah, that's yeah.
I don't know how you tend to regard the Templar. You can disagree with me. Like, I'm not.
No, no, it's let's see.
Are you googling?
No, 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 no. Just waiting for something. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's the thing is that some of the people who
Hmm.
did like a lot of research,
Hmm.
they told me that it was actually the, as you said, like the fifth column inside the order who were actually like demon worshippers, but it wasn't the entire complete order,
No, no, not the whole thing.
not the
But
whole thing. Yeah, but they
but
were there. They were fucking there, and they were fucked up.
yeah, and the senior staff we know were doing some weird rituals and some weird stuff, and that worried Philippe. So he did nothing wrong, but for some reason you can't say that. Like, it's considered politically incorrect to say Philippe le Bel did nothing wrong. I have I don't understand why. Um, I truly don't, because how we French perceive what he did and how, you know what I mean, like others perceive it, seems to be very different. So that it just confuses me. Um, and when I spoke to some Japanese about it who were familiar with French history, they themselves were like, "Yeah, well, that image looks freaky. Anyone who associates with that should be getting the Jacques Mollet, the Mollet treatment." Um, the Japanese just take one look at it and go, "We don't want anything to do with that." Um, yeah, so different
Yeah,
story. But anyways, yeah, I'll have to take a look at your most recent chapter. Ow, ow.
I can
Um,
also, if you want me, I can also send you
please.
that I can send you the second anthology, that story about the German pilot and the French
Sure.
pilot.
Sure. I
It's
could learn
you'll love it. You'll
Okay.
be you'll be yet another great Frenchman in a line of other great Frenchmen who read it. So yeah, you'll
Okay.
probably.
Well, I'll definitely look forward to it. Um, but as for maybe you could poke around your German readers and see if any of them know any.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's why I was a bit slow to react because I was typing. I was sending them
Oh, okay. I
messages.
didn't. I didn't know. Yeah, because I've got a few. Like, most of my European readers are either in, like, well, I'm not counting Substack.
They're still not asleep.
Yeah. Well,
uh,
I've there's you. There's uh, my proofreader in Scotland. Um, there's my former professor in Ireland. He was my professor of Japanese history, and he was
Oh
Irish.
yeah.
Oh man, the discussions he and I had, and we always geeked out whenever we saw each other and whatnot. And everyone was like, "You guys are arguing," but we'd just be getting so excited we'd be talking loudly. And it was Americans who were saying you're arguing and you're yelling at each other, but we weren't. We were just like little kids at Christmas, and I'd be, I just say, "Oh, do you remember that the Hogan no Ran?" And he'd then go, "Yes, and how?" And we just get on. Like it's just us Celts are loud. We're like Italians. Um, but and I think I've got like these are readers I'm on a first name basis with, and I think that's almost it. Well, there's a few I think in well, there's a few in France and Quebec, but there most of them are taking the attitude we're not really interested in your English stuff. Send us something that's French. So I have
Uh,
to, yeah.
yeah.
It's just it's not that they hate the English stuff. They just see it as well. One or two of them, I'm not sure they're fluent in English, and like one of them, I know cannot speak any English whatsoever. Like she's in Quebec, and I'm pretty sure I've heard her try, and it was just disastrous. Her English was just terrible. Like she can't speak it. And I know it's a little odd to probably a lot of our listeners that, well, you live in Quebec in Canada, and you can't even speak any English. It's just Canada, Quebec. I've heard it described as a French ethno state. It like the people there don't speak English. There's no need for English because everything's in French. It's basically
Yeah.
France, it's basically France in North America. Like I've lived there before and I've loved it, but the people really don't understand English. And um, I'm considered an Anglo expert, and whenever I visit, I know people who tend to say, "Well, why do the Anglo Saxons behave like this? Why do the Anglo Saxons behave like that? Why do Americans behave like this?" And usually my answer is, "I don't know. I don't understand them either." Well, you're supposed to. You taught English, yes, but a lot of them are confusing to me. Well, how can you teach this and not understand them? I don't know. I just tell them I don't know. Like a lot of them I do understand, others I don't, and that always becomes a bit of a. Then they start making fun of me. They just start mocking me and just saying you're the worst English expert. And but they say it fondly, like they're like you suck at this. But you can tell I love my people because I can actually admit that yeah they make fun. But the people in France that I know are they don't speak any English. I think one of them does. Right, two of them do. They speak English, but one of them often gets confused by English speakers have to speak slowly because she doesn't use it very much. Um, and that's the thing. The I know like the French seem like they act really weird to a lot of English listeners, guys, but you guys act weird to us. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
not that they're deliberately trying to be contrarian. And I've seen people say, well, I've seen Americans say online, right online, the French are so rude to us when we go to France. But a lot of the French don't actually understand any English. And when they're asking you, they're telling you, speak English. Right? Speak French. Speak French. It's not because they hate your language per se, it's that they genuinely don't know it. They can't understand you. So they're begging you to speak in French to them. And I've just seen a few people online post, why are they so rude to me? They won't answer me in English. Then I talk to, and the person will post up, like they'll be on Twitter and it's like, this guy was rude to me when I visited France and here's his Twitter handle. And I go and talk to the person and they're like, yeah, I don't understand any English. I don't know what he was trying to ask me.
Yeah, and especially in the service industry, when you can make a mistake which costs money,
Yeah.
and then you get even more apprehensive to like
I've,
it's
yeah. And
nah,
I've used Air France and they are very apprehensive to speak English. They're very nervous. Some of them can speak it pretty well, but some stewardesses just, um, yeah, I've had to translate for uh, some, I think people from North Carolina once when I was in France, and they just,
Ooh.
it was fun. The French hotel guy was really
I've
excited.
been there. I've been to South Carolina.
Ooh,
Yeah,
and
I remember it fondly.
well, um, this was a couple from around that region going some to France, and the hotel guy and I were geeking out because they tend to use y'all and how are ya and
Mm,
all that like
mm.
Rebecca does. So they had that kind of southern uh, dialect, and the hotel guy was just geeking out because he just said, He's like, isn't that the normal American accent?" And I'm like, "No, actually, it
No,
isn't."
no,
And
no,
he
it
just,
isn't.
but he said that he liked it better. Like
Yeah,
even I agreed with him. It sounds
it's
better.
wholesome. It's
Yeah.
really wholesome.
But the old couple were like, we were trying to speak to him, but we're not sure he understood. And I then turned to him and he's like, Je peux pas les comprendre. J'aime. He's like, I can't understand them. I love their dialect, but I can't understand a lick of what they're saying.
Yep.
Translate. And I'm
And
like,
by the way, you're 100% correct. I watched a couple of videos of a Korean guy who he's trained. He's a sommelier. He's trained by um, a French guy and um, another guy who I think is from Spain, if I'm
oh,
not.
the Spain are very French.
And they taught him perfect French.
Oh, cool.
He is also a polyglot, and he knows
Wow.
like seven or eight languages. He taught himself Japanese,
I would love to do
etc.
that.
etc. He's called the Wine King, and he has the child energy. He's really wholesome, and he loves going to France. He loves going to Italy. Oh no, yes, he also knows it. He taught himself Italian, and he would go and he would find these small restaurants, and because he's like he his job is wines. He has to know. He has to taste them. And he would go to, especially when he goes to France with his wife, and he told her also, he told her good French. She has a good French, and they would like, they have no problems. They would go to restaurants and they would talk in like it's okay. The- just there
Stick
was
by
one
the
restaurant, one just one restaurant where they I think they had uh, probably picked the wrong restaurant because it was like, I think the service was not okay.
oh, that happens.
That happens in every country,
Yeah.
but otherwise they have no problem when they go to like anywhere in France. No problem whatsoever. In Italy, no problem whatsoever. That is just like, and the waiters and the staff, they're delighted because they don't have to, like, they're not anxious. They don't have to guess what you're asking them. Your order will not be messed up, um, and everything. And I think he says in one of his videos, he's like, guys, please, let's just learn a couple of words, just a couple of words. It's not that hard.
Well, for some of us, it is.
Yeah, yeah. No.
Just
It's
kidding.
I've had like um, an American guy, and he was trying to, because one of his favorite characters from my books is Boris. He's a Bulgarian telepath, and also a lawman. and he would like to like say certain things in Bulgarian, and I would tell him the exact pronunciation of certain words, and then how to roll your tongue and to say them and everything. And he was like, "Man, this is hard." I'm like, I'm sorry. It's like, okay. Especially the word for vacuum cleaner
Hmm. What is it?
in Bulgarian.
Yeah.
Прахосмукачка.
Okay, write that one down for me. I need to see these things written down. I need to see it written down.
Okay, okay.
Oh, I just saw the note.
Here it
Oh,
is.
Prahusmukashka.
Yeah.
Prahusmukashka. Prahusmukashka. Did I pronounce that right?
The ch, it's really hard. The ch
So,
is the ch and the st. It's probably
Prahusmukaka. No, that can't be
no.
it.
The
Say it again.
ch is actually ch. Ch.
Prahusmukachka.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Oh, okay. I struggle. I just think these CH sounds.
and when you give me some um the French pilot's name, his family name, the Chalion. I
Chalion.
had a horrible time like pronouncing it, and I kept butchering it.
I butchered Bulgarian just now, so I can't judge.
Yeah.
Bojji. Oh,
So how would you pronounce the his name?
Emile Chaillon?
Chalion.
Chaillon. Why?
Without the L's or with the L's? With the slight L
Chaillon.
or a longer L?
Chaillon. Probably without Chaillon.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And her name is
Elise Weiss.
yeah.
Elise Weiss. Or Fraulein Hirondelle.
Yeah.
Huh. That sounds very mignon. Très mignon. It's very cute.
She was as a teenager before the war, years before the war. She was part of an air circus with her parents, and they would tour Europe, and they would perform like air acrobatics and stuff. And back then, she had like a stage name. Her stage name was Little Dove, and she would
Yeah.
fly this biplane, this German Albatross biplane, which was painted as a dove.
Let me see that.
It's a beautiful plane.
So she's a Colombe. Dove. Colombe.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I like Colombe.
Just look the Albatross D3, and it's like it's like a bird. It's like it has a soft shape, gentle shape.
Okay.
Well, and you gotta imagine that they, it's like they never had this. It wasn't. I mean, how should I put it? They never had any big problems. I mean, they had occasional stuff, but they never had this like huge problems. And in many cases, like most French would know German, and most Germans would know French. and especially those who like live, let's say, 100 kilometers of the borders, they would be bilingual. Um, yeah, so it's not, you won't find there's like, oh no, you're an evil German, or no, you're like you're an evil French. And there is a scene. I mean, there are a couple of scenes, but there is a scene of German mechanic. He's a really old guy, and immediately they're talking about how soon can you fix my soon can you fix my airplane, and the German is like you want the impossible, like this is it's a wreck, I can't fix this. And it was like, nah, it's like you're German mechanic, you can fix everything. It's like, and they keep like and that's normal. That's normal for them. That's the usual thing.
Okay.
And this is one of the reasons why I'm yet to find a normal reader who, French or German, who would dislike uh, how things are in the Star Shattered universe. They just have too much fun reading it,
Yeah.
and that's the idea.
Well, with good reason, because yeah. Um, but but yeah, I think we're gonna end the show right now. But so yeah, I'm glad we got to focus more on what's upcoming for Star Shatter and Lord of Bones, and
And
also for
your work.
yeah my two little projects, which I might do writing streams for both of them. They might both end up being written in French, but at least I'll do writing streams and just relax that way on occasion. And then maybe I'll post those writing streams over on Substack. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I got to get caught up on the uploads for Sunday night's talks, though. I missed last week's of schedule, um, which, yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that. It's just I'm kind of lazy because YouTube's very demoralizing with the algorithm. Not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
YouTube sucks with the algorithms. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, don't forget to check out Black Knight's Substack. It'll be down below. And also check out his books and look forward to his work. And also, if you're listening to this on Substack or Storyfire, subscribe already because we definitely need the support. And if you're
We need your beautiful gray cells, my
yeah,
friend.
yeah, and on over on uh, over on Substack, you can, I guess, just subscribe and well to Alliance Authors, Black Knight, and also subscribe to Brothers Crin because why not subscribe to all three?